You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and as always, I know those of you who are waiting to hear what's happened in the saga of the dark world. Tonight, we are back to bring you the update for this week, but we also have a new soldier on board with us, and his name is Erik. And Erik has a show called The Expandable Show. And by coincidence, Erik and I connected, and you should go look at the show that I produced last night if you want to find out who Erik is or why he's here with Mel and I. But for those of you who have been asking me, when the hell is this going to be over? We still don't know, but we were brought a helper. And so tonight, Erik and Mel will share the very first night the three of us connected and how Erik's skills is going to marry Mel's skills along with the little that I have. And hopefully we are going to be closing in with the answer to your question, which is, when is this going to end? And Mel, I'm smelling a little gray one.
Oh, a little gray one. Okay.
You guys know, I just had a gray one join the segment.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, Mel, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back, as always.
And Erik, welcome to the saga of what I
Thank
call
you.
Nightmare.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. So, Erik, they know Mel and I, they've been watching us for weeks. And I'm not sure, maybe I'll have Mel relate the incident that happened the first night that you joined the two of us in a group conversation. So, Mel, do you want to share what happened that night? And then Erik can add his bit to it. What happened the very first night? The three of us shared a three-way conversation.
Sure. I think also, though, we need to tell everyone that the situation has shifted a little bit more because the little gray ones weren't there. So they're probably not going to understand why these little gray ones might come in or have come in. So
Sure.
What we're talking about here is another entity, another otherworldly entity that is working with the reptilians, right?
Yeah.
Audience knows that that's who we've been dealing with for quite some time now. And so part of what's happened is this past week is this. And this is quite interesting. And I have to say this in order for your audience to understand why we got to this point now. I was told, and I forget now, was it Tuesday or was it Wednesday when I first spoke to you, or when, I don't know when we connected. A couple days ago we connected.
It was Wednesday night.
Correct. Okay, so I was told earlier in the day that three large bells were, and I have to say this, were put into the consciousness somewhere of the reptilian hive mind. Now, in order to understand what it is I'm talking about, I have to recap real quick. The reptilian the reptilian collective, the one that we are dealing with, has a hive mind. A hive mind is something where you have somebody that is, leadership, and they all sort of share the same goal. They all sort of share everything. They don't have individual opinions. They just do what's good for the hive, what's good for the whole collective, right? So they don't do things individually. So when I basically mentioned briefly the last time that I was able to penetrate, the mind of Dutchman, and as such he was compromised, right?
Yes.
What happened was that I was told that once you access one, you access them all. So that was important then. I didn't know what it meant or what it would mean. Okay. But here's the deal. I didn't have anything to do with the bells, obviously. But from what I'm told is that they don't like bells. Okay. They don't like bells at all. And the best way I can describe it is because I've tapped into their consciousness, and I can feel and what they're sort of experiencing. And what they're experiencing is almost like you would nail on a chalkboard. Okay, so they're going like this. They cannot. It's really awful for them. They can't take it. I don't know what it is about bells. Okay, so interestingly enough, right? When I told you this, you had no reptilians that day until and even the next day, but you had activity that we couldn't understand, and you had a different kind of smell, right? We couldn't identify it, right? What that smell was until that's when Erik comes in, because Erik uncovered what that was. So you want to pick it up there, Erik? You want to you want to talk about what happened when we all talked and we sort of all tuned in, you and I tuned in to Jennylyn when she had the attack. Because what happened was she was attacked during our three-way conversation. And,
Right.
I, of course, tuned in, and then you did too. But you got a visual, and you take it from there.
So to kind of give a little backstory on that, so when I got brought in, we weren't expecting to deal with anything. I thought this was just going to be a three-way call where we'd introduce each other and tell some stories, and then everybody would go to bed. And it didn't quite work out that way. So I kind of got just trial by fire. And so with the things that I've known that I could do, I would consider it like a snail pace. So I've never really been in the heat of the battle directly that fast. So for when these things started happening during the phone conversation, and then Mel started to work on it, I felt powerless. And then I thought, you know what? I just need to do something. And so I started to get my setting right and started to really pull into that frequency. And I'd never been able to, see the, other beings other than like the demonic beings. So this was a whole new arena for me. And I felt I could feel Mel, and I don't know how to describe how that feels, but I could feel I might have been piggybacking off of her energy a little bit. And I think that's what helped me get in as fast as I could. So when I got in there, I could see everybody was a distance away from me, and it was a box, and it was half of it was black and half of it was bright white. And I could see Jennylyn standing in front of me. If I had to estimate, she was probably maybe 50 feet in front of me. And I could see a being off to my right, which would have been her left. And I remember staring at that being, and I couldn't walk forward. I was kind of stuck in the spot that I was in. It was like a wall that I couldn't go through. And so when I saw her standing there, and I could see this being was right in her ear, and was just manipulating her. I could tell. But one thing that I noticed with me not being, I've never seen anything like this before when I've gone into that realm or frequency. So I didn't know what this thing was, but it wanted me to know that it was gray. It made it very clear, I am gray, and it looked gray. Everything about it was gray. It had a gray cloak, gray face, gray everything. And so that's when I said it's gray. And then Mel jumped in, and she was like, I know what's going on. And so I was confused. I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at here.
So I just want to backtrack, and I should have done this at the inception so people watching could follow more what's going on. So last night I did a show where I introduced Erik to you, and I wanted everyone to know who Erik was, because Erik is going to be part of this journey with us, with Mel and I, when he can, going forward. And so I met Erik and I wanted Mel to meet him because, to be honest with you all, when I meet anyone now, I want to run them through Mel. Because I have a broken picker. I have a broken picker. And I just run around picking everybody that I think is nice. And as you can tell from my history, half of those people that I thought were nice and trusted and loved did me great harm and put me in horrible danger. So I don't trust myself now. Just if I think the whole world is full of nice people, and that's what's gotten me in the position that I'm in. So I wanted Mel to suss him out first before I pulled him into the fold. And Mel told me she saw Archangel Michael on his right shoulder, and she thinks that he is, working with Archangel Michael. And that's all I needed to hear. So then I decided I want him to meet Mel. And he had a show that night. I think I was on his show, on his expandable show. And I said, when you're finished with your show, if you feel up to it, text me. And then I checked with Mel and she was available. So I did a 3-way call so that Erik could meet Mel. Little did we know, a phone call that started about 9 ended at midnight with Erik. What you call hitting the ground running. Because that's literally what happened. Here we were thinking, we were having a friendly conversation to get to know each other. And all I know is while we're speaking, I said, guys, I didn't want to say this, but someone is stabbing my eardrums with knives. It is excruciatingly painful. I can't take the pain. And it turned into a battle that lasted from 9 to midnight. And this is how Erik, this was Erik's welcome party. So since then, he has been helping, he's been offering suggestions and trying to do what he can do to help. But Erik is mostly an author and has a show. I don't think that this is his field like it is Mel's, because Erik has complimented Mel and in all the ways that she's kind of hauled me through this madness. And so Mel, I know that night we were all up until midnight. And then Erik pointed out that Grace had joined the scene. And then the next morning, you got up and did your early morning clearing of me. And we didn't see any of the reptilians because your higher ups had told you they placed bells in certain areas that were driving the reptilians crazy. Now, for me, I was not familiar with Grace. I didn't know anything about them. And I have never seen a reptilian. I smell them. And I said to Mel, I haven't had any reptilians around me, but I've been getting a whiff of something else. It smells like a mild scent of a skunk, because that's how it kind of has a rubbery, I don't know how to describe it. If you've been to San Francisco and you've gone to see the sea lions, it has that kind of a smell. And I just heard something. So this is how I know when they come around. And so Mel, you want to share what happened after that? And then we'll come back to you, Erik.
Yeah, basically, again, it was actually before then that I was told that these bells were put into their consciousness. Okay. And leading up to that, your audiences might be thinking, well, why was that done? And that part I haven't said yet. Basically, these powers or these protectors that I'm working with, right? Since the last time we spoke, they have actually through me accessed their consciousness and have made it perfectly clear not to underestimate, okay, those who work with me. So basically, when I went in there, I channeled information into the reptilian witches ahead. Believe it or not, this all sounds crazy, but since you can access, the hive mind, and you can target a certain brain of theirs, that's what I did. So basically, she was told, forewarned multiple times, that those not to underestimate those who work with me, because she is aware of me and she's aware, of you, because she's attacking you. So they basically gave her a heads up, if you so will. So I didn't know what that meant. I was just channeling the information on behalf of them and left it at that, until they decided they were going to go ahead and give them a taste of what it is. And actually, those bells that are hidden somewhere, that are still ongoing, are really, really disturbing them. And they are, from what I'm told, is they have literally unleashed all of their assets, if you so will, to try to locate that and to try to take it out, because it really disrupts what they're doing. And up until the highest of the high. So we're getting mad reptilian beings here, which again, I have nothing to do with. This is not, I was just the messenger here. And so what, to give more backstory, these gray alien beings, okay, these, what we're talking about, and most people will know them through, stories that people have said by being abducted, by grays, and they do experiments on them, that those kinds of gray aliens. That's the way yes, I'm getting a yes. Those are the ones that are that we're talking about here. Those gray aliens have been known to work with the reptilians. I'm not the first one to say this. There's plenty of information out there that people have said that they do work together, because they are more on the darker side. Okay, they're not, like other ones are. So interestingly enough, just paint the picture here for your audience. The reptilians are going nuts because those bells are ringing. By the way, they're still ringing. So they can't take care of business, so to speak. So they're sending in these gray aliens to do it for them. And that's, when Erik stepped in. And it's interesting. I just want to, briefly add something to this. I was told that these gray aliens do not have a hive mind. So basically, they made sure that whoever replaces them for now, until they can get their situation resolved, whatever that is, whatever that means for them, that these other beings are going to take over. So that's where, that's where we are right now. I don't know. It sounds crazy, but what do I know? I mean, we're stumbling every week. We're stumbling into something else. And now, thanks to Erik, we know what it is, because I didn't see what it was. He did. He was shown what it was.
So before I bring Erik back, I wanted to share one thing. If you've been following this series, you will remember me sharing about an African woman, because I'm told not to say Black woman. I can't believe we live in a stupid world where you can't, I can't say a Black woman without, I'm half Black and I refer to myself as a Black woman. So I don't understand why it's a big hoopla if you say Black woman, Chinese woman. Well, anyway, the woman whose skin was black from New York, that came to my house under the pretense of being someone trying to help me. I woke up the other morning and all I heard was her name. And I thought, Mel's already checked her out, and Mel said, she does the dirty work, but she's not actively involved. And every morning Mel wakes up, she gets an earful from me. I'm not going to mention this. And so that evening, I came home from work and I was being massively attacked. Mel was with one of her clients. So there was no one to help me. And I was laying on the sofa trying to help myself. And I decided I'm going to put a movie on and just lose myself in it and ignore the pain. And the movie came on, and you know how they tell you the name of the production company? Well, guess what it was? That Black woman's name, Yuna. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, my guys. Okay, my spirit. I get it. You want me to tell Mel. And so the next morning, I told Mel, and we are getting interference. And then we'll come back to, and then Mel can tell us what she's found out about that. But Erik, I wanted to come back to you, and I want you to know that night when we hung up the phone, this is what went through my mind. This guy, Erik, is probably going to bed saying, "Oh my God, what kind of crazy people did I just what kind of, because you have to admit, I'm sure you've never gone through anything like that before."
No, I haven't. And I was just explaining to my assistant I think it was yesterday. Like, I've never been open, about this part of my life with anybody. So this is like a big coming out for me. I've always kept it to myself. So, but at the same time, it's just like nothing's a coincidence, and I feel like that this was what I'm supposed to be here doing this. So I didn't go to bed feeling like, wow, what a bunch of whack jobs. I actually went to bed. I went to bed going, I need to help her. I hope I can help her. I want to help her. And that's kind of where I left it that night.
Because I have to tell you, Erik, the only person on this planet before you came along who truly understands my suffering is Mel. Because when she goes in to clear me sometimes, she knows what she's taken out of my body. I'm not a big woman. I'm 5'4". I'm not even 120 pounds. And she has pulled animal farms out of my body. And so the only, Erik is laughing, she'll tell you. And so I know the average person watching this show is going, "You are wacko. How can anybody pull out animal part of your body?" And maybe if we have time tonight, Mel can explain how it happens, because I physically feel pain. Like if someone is standing, touching my flesh, doing this, and I cannot explain how they do it with their magic. Or if they're putting something in my eye, I'll wake up and go, "Mel, something is in my left eye," and she'll go and find a dish. I mean, it's amazing. And I bare my soul here with it, although I know I'm opening myself up for judgment, because I know this is not only happening to me. And because so many people care about what other people think, they suffer. While this girl sitting here, I always say, I don't give a damn what you think of me, because you are not the one suffering. I am. And you want to judge me? Do it and come and pay my bills too. So, Mel, I just wanted you um, to explain to people, if someone is watching the show, like Erik, he had an open mind. And Erik, I really respect and thank you. Because the next morning when I woke up, you text me and you go, "Maybe we should ask Mel if you should get, the golden light or the whatever protection." So clearly you went to bed having some compassion for my situation, and honestly wanting to help Mel and I, because it's all been on Mel's shoulders. I can tell her what is happening because somehow I know, but I am limited in my ability to undo what is happening. And she's been my savior. And so the fact that you've joined us and is going to rally around us means the world to me, because this is a huge battle. And maybe Mel can explain what we've been finding out about this particular battle that I'm in. I started off thinking it was about a jealous woman, a jealous, obsessive woman, and a jealous, obsessive man, but it's way bigger than all of that. And so, Mel, maybe you can explain, and we'll bring Erik back, and then he can share some of the gifts he has that he has been sitting on.
Sure. So, well, you're absolutely right. We thought it was merely a couple people trying to, lash out at you and making your life a living hell, right? That's basically what I thought. That's what you thought. When it turned out that there were souls involved, that these people were, and we're calling it soul trafficking because they literally have, been redirecting them and capturing them and putting them somewhere, okay, which I don't really know where they're going, but not in the right place. Let's put it that way. And the my spirit team referred to these souls as being food for the reptilians, and that is to be taken as an energy, okay, an energetic harvesting type of situation, okay. So we thought it ended with that, but here's what we have sort of come to the conclusion to, because it really, I sometimes sit there and I'm thinking to myself, how did we get here? Okay, this is really unbelievable. I mean, again, we went from two people who are doing magic, right? Very, very strong magic and satanic rituals and so forth, to a whole other level of magic of done by non-human beings that are part of the I. They all are part of the I. I don't want to say the whole world because that triggers,
Algorithms. Yep.
yeah, correct. Yeah. So part of the I, and in the middle of an operation that uses their pain making skills that you were just talking about. That's what they do. They're expert at this on not only you, but little ones. Okay. For nefarious reasons that we won't get into here on this, show right now. But so I almost thought at some point that the universe, Archangel Michael, and everyone else was guided you and I to this, okay, to this place, so that we can be part of something bigger, so that we can be part of, I wouldn't say eliminating, I don't like that word, but sort of containing those, the situation with these people. Okay. And as I've mentioned before, just like the dark needs a vessel to operate, so does the light. So therefore, I am the vessel of the light, and so is Erik. And we do these things through us, they can operate. Okay. Or they can, whatever needs to be done can be done. Like I said, like when I mentioned earlier that I was used to give them a warning, to be, to not underestimate. I said that 2-3 times. And that's when they put the bells in. Okay. So I was used to give that message, but I wasn't part of the actual execution of whatever came afterwards. Okay. And that's how it is. And I also, I was also telling them that this is only the beginning. So this is not the end. So they're being forewarned that this is only the beginning. So I don't know what else these higher forces have in mind. Okay, but we're part of something much bigger on this planet, and in this whole battle of good versus evil. And I don't really like the word battle. I don't really like the word fighting, because I actually liken it to allowing for the light to illuminate, okay? Allowing for the light to, really, really succeed in pushing out darkness. I don't like the word battle, because I even though it appears that way, I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me on a soul level. I don't know if that makes any sense. And this is probably, yeah. But technically it is a battle. I mean, they see it as such, and we may not. We may just see it as, we're trying to assist the light on the planet. And maybe Erik can tell the story as to what happened to this little gray alien being, right? That's exactly what I'm referring to here, is that, it's not a battle. We can actually assist some of them to transform, right? So maybe Erik can talk about that gray alien being that he held and then transformed his experiences. I would really like him to share that, because that's kind of neat. Because I wasn't aware of that this is possible for the otherworldly being either. I wasn't aware that you could do that. I was aware of doing this with even demonic entities. I knew you can transform demonic entities. I knew that. What I mean by transforming is removing the darkness to a certain extent that they actually, if they have a soul, turn to the light. It is possible. So, some of your audience might say, well, how is that possible? Yes, it is possible. But it's difficult and it can't be done always. But maybe Erik can talk about this little gray thing, this gray alien, and how this is apparently possible for those gray aliens too. I'll leave it at that, I think.
Yeah. So when I'm outside, I'm staring at what's going on in front of me. And Mel, I could see you too. You were off to my left and you were looking at Jennylyn, and the gray was like right like by her face. And so as I started to try to move forward, I had this goat get in my way and it wouldn't let me pass. And so and it was just as tall as me. His face was right in my face. And that's when Mel said that, it could be Baphomet. Like I said, I didn't, this is a whole new realm of consciousness for me. So I was heavily confused. But I was like, okay, how do I get this goat out of my way? And so I knew I needed to get to Jennylyn. And so finally I was like, you know what? He every time I'd move, he'd move with me. He was basically like mirroring me. And so I just stuck my hand out and I grabbed it, and I grabbed him by the throat and I just picked him up and moved him. And that I was like, okay, well, that was easy. I'm gonna go handle this little gray thing. And so I made my way there, and the gray paid no attention to me. I was not a threat to it at all. It didn't acknowledge me, nothing. And so then I sat there and I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, how do I affect this thing? Because it's not intimidated by me at all. But it stayed laser focused on Jennylyn. And so then Mel said, what do we, or she had said something along the lines of how do we do this? And that's when, and I forgot to tell you guys a specific detail, and Mel, you're probably going to fall out of your chair, but it came to my head, like what to do. And then something behind Jennylyn brought it there. The white light, it didn't come from me. It came from behind her, and it came in like real strong, real fast. And it just hit the gray, and the gray was hurt by it. It took a step back. And then that was when I was able to grab the gray, and he was powerless against any, at that point when he was hit with the light, he was powerless. He could do nothing. And he was just engulfed in this light. And then I had him in my hand and I could feel him. He was ice cold. My hand started turning into ice. And as he was losing his power, I could feel my hand warm up. And then I just took him outside of the box, and then I just let him go. Well, before I let him go, that was when Mel jumped in and kind of, I don't know how she describes it, cleansed the entity.
Yes.
I'm listening to you and her, and I'm just thanking God I don't see those things. I know they're here. I smell them. I feel them. And I'm so grateful that I do not see them. Could you imagine if I had to see them as well? But listening to this, it sounds like some movie plot that we are rehearsing.
And that's what it was. That's what it was like for me watching it. I'm like, well, this is a movie. Like how?
Yeah.
I wish I had a camera inside this thing. This would be a box office winner for sure.
Telling you, I think at the end of this, there'll be a movie because we're doing a book, which you're going to be adding your bit to, Erik. Because in fact, you're going to be guiding the book because you've written 2 books, and neither Mel
Right.
or I have ever written a book. So see how the universe connects those people who need to come together. There is no doubt in my mind that you were brought to us. I think that you're sitting on a lot of spiritual power that the world needs, and you're just sitting there. It's like having a Rolls Royce in your garage and you don't even know it's there.
I don't know about Rolls Royce, but I'll take it.
Just so you know, real quick, as you were talking about this light that came in and hit the little being, and sort of caught him off guard, and so that you could move in. Just so you know, I know what that was.
What was it? Tell us.
That was Michael.
That's what I guessed. That's
Archangel Michael came in and assisted you because you were asking for it. You have that direct, so he's responding. This might be something that is specific to you. Okay.
Oh my God.
That you have this. Yes. Yeah. And huh?
Somebody is here so strong, my entire body's gone cold.
Oh wow, really?
Could you see who that is?
I can't tune in right now like this because I'm staring at the camera.
Right.
So,
Okay.
I don't, but I know that we have been. They have tried to interfere with this.
Yes,
show today.
connection.
You've been freezing up, and I've been trying to sort of keep my energy a little bit up during this time. Okay. Yes, they don't like that we're talking about this and that we are actually saying this. And just to get back one more time to your story, Erik, when your hands were ice cold touching, right? When you were finding that your hands that the being was getting warmer and warmer, that's when I was doing my energy work and removing it from it. So it was, you were feeling that, and that was kind of neat. I've never had anybody say that to me, what actually happened. So thank you for that.
Right. And that wasn't the feeling that I felt. It wasn't in the realm. It was physically. It was in it was my physical hand.
Yes. Because you are actually engaging physically. When I do this energy work, people think of energy work, oh, it's just, doing some hands and this and that. But I am physically affected by it. I might make faces while I do energy work. I feel things. I cringe. I have to go and literally I'm doing things in the physical, but my conscious mind is somewhere else. So absolutely, I totally get it. That is exactly how it is. So that's not the first time or the only time you're gonna find that. That's how it works for me. So
well, one night I heard her crying and it just ripped my heart out. And I go, Mel, are you okay? And it's the night when we discovered what they were doing to the little ones.
Right. Yeah. This is not the only time. I cry, and I'm gonna say this, crying is part of what I do sometimes when I encounter so much pain and darkness in people or beings, usually beings that are just so extraordinarily dark. Like, for instance, in occasions when I transformed demonic entities, when I pulled their darkness out of them, it is so strong and so painful that when it hits me, I just cannot but start to cry and sob. This is how I release it. It's almost as if I take it on so that they don't have to bear it. Okay, it sounds terrible, but it has become something that I'm used to, and thankfully it doesn't happen very often. But yes, that's unfortunate. It's just incredible emotional pain.
Well, guys, if you've been watching this, you guys have a pretty good idea of what it's been for me. I have had no breaks. There's never been a day where nothing happened. And this I've been dealing with for 20 years. Over the last 5 years, it intensified. And since Mel came on board, it's been on steroids. Because as Mel is removing stuff, they're trying to remain relevant. And the way they're doing it is turning up what they're doing to me. And so, right after the woman from New York with the black skin, because I can't say black woman, went to my went to my home or that I imported her to San Francisco on my money, kept her in my house, treated her like a princess. While she was at my house doing things to hurt me in my house, it just makes me wonder how some people could be the way they are. I took her shopping, fine dining, probably things she'd never done. Anyway, while she was enjoying being spoiled by me in my home, hurting me, right after she left is when my bed started shaking at night. And everyone who knows me will tell you, I said it felt like I was laying on waves or like African drums. And everyone who knows me will tell you this is how I described the sensation I felt. And it was so bad that I have a picture which I will put on this video how I slept. I slept with pillows tucked up all over my body to stop these things poking at my private parts and different parts of my body. And the only thing that was exposed was my nose. Could you imagine sleeping like this? That's how I slept. And I knew it had something to do with her because it was shortly after she left my home that this started. And this is when I went on a mission to find help. And this is what led up to all of what I've shared previously. Well, the other day, the guy brought her to my attention because I mentioned her to Mel when we first met. But what Mel and I are realizing now, Mel was guided on how to clear this up. After all, I'm such a big bad wolf. They had to bring out all the horrible people in hell to come after me. I had the Chinese woman and her scavengers, and God knows who else that we don't even know about. I had the Dutchman and all the highest of the high in his eye place come after me. And then I've got this black woman, and God knows who else. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say black. The woman with the black skin, that one, she and her cronies came after me. And so, and I guess has still been coming after me. And Mel found out where she took personal items of mine and buried them certain places in California, which we won't name. But what Mel and I are realizing is Spirit, Archangel Michael, whoever's guiding us, have been guiding us to deal with them one at a time.
Yeah.
And then as Mel took them down, they brought her to the next and the next because we didn't have our little warrior over there, Mr. Erik, as yet. It was all on Mel's shoulders, and she has her life and her other customers. I'm not the only person she's helping. And so this week we discovered woman with the black skin is still doing stuff, or some of the things that we couldn't undo are connected to her. And so I'll hand this over to Mel now, and then we'll come back to you, Erik.
Yes, that was quite interesting. Thank you for explaining that. That's exactly how it happened. The universe, my guides, they literally take me from one to the next. So they always want to be sure that I can concentrate on one, a person at a time, because they realize that I can't do three of them at once. So I think the way they're doing it is they pick the ones that are, most devastating, like whoever is the biggest and baddest at the moment. But interestingly enough, they started with the Chinese woman first, which was really, really
Sandra Tong.
Yeah, Sandra. Correct. Yeah. So even though there were other ones who are worse, like Dutchman, I think is worse than her.
Arjen Bouwman, say their names.
Get her out of the way. They wanted to take her down first, or clip her wings so that I could focus on something else. But back to the woman you're referring to, Una. Okay. I looked into it, and I was told, and this struck me. You can't make this stuff up. She doesn't practice satanic rituals, okay, or anything like that. She practices hoodoo. And if you know anything about hoodoo, it's like the African version of voodoo in a sense. Okay, there's similarities there. So yes, so we're having that kind of thing going on. And hoodoo when she mentions, that you have African drums, well, that would make sense because, it's a hoodoo is connected to the West African region, right? And drums, and you were hearing African drums, so that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even put two and two together until they told me that it was hoodoo. Now, what's been happening is I've started to unravel this Una woman, and she noticed. She noticed big time because I am also now tasked with not only taking down her skills as a high priestess or whatever she calls herself in the hoodoo, religion, but also to make sure that she is no longer able to do this to other people. And they're confirming that for me as I'm saying that. So you see how I'm making my way I'm making my rounds here. Okay, now I'm dealing with this female who has literally done some pretty bad things, I would think, and abused her gifts and her abilities, her powers in this craft over years and decades, I'm sure, because she's pretty good at it. And you have noticed that she has responded because you said that the drums were extremely loud the other day, right? Or just and been shaking your bed, and even at work, your chair has been shaking. This is not something that the little gray aliens will do. This is something that goes to her, that I connect with her. And again, what happens is I tune in and I can I'm being guided to whoever is the source. And one of the things that I'm always told, okay, from the beginning, that I had to learn is that, and that I do now, right from the start, is determine what's the source. And without even helping you right away, unless it's an emergency, I will go straight to the source. I won't even help you and your physical vessel. I go straight to the source and I contain whatever's going on with the source, cut it off, even only temporarily, and then go help you. Because if I start with you, the source just keeps feeding, the same thing, and it just keeps going and going and going. Now, the only issue is, and that I have to then keep going to make that permanent. And that's where, we have this issue with, due process is what I call it. It's kind of like, the criminal justice system. There's a due process in the spiritual realm, that somebody has to abuse their powers for so long until that they can be reeled in by higher realms, and they also have to be taken or held accountable. And again, it's really, really odd. Not odd, but this is how I understand it. They're being held accountable and made aware of it through us, like me or Erik or even you. By sort of like starting this due process, okay? Because technically, have they been doing bad things for decades? Yes. Technically, they should have been well past their due process, but that's not how it works. They have to be made aware of it. They have to be given the ability to redeem themselves. And this really is like, there is a process there in the high realms that they have to follow. And only then, this is why the reptilians were given the notice. It's almost like, oh, here, it's like an eviction notice. Here you go, go vacate or stop. And if you don't, that's when we're going to do something. That's kind of how this works in the spiritual realm too. And I had no idea of any of this until I started with your case. I didn't know that that's how it works because I've never dealt with anything like this before. But so Una, going back to Una, she's basically in the process of, being shut down. Okay. And she knows it. She has, you and I one day have felt her really strongly, haven't we?
And we felt her today as well. She's not.
Yeah, she's angry. I mean, it was an energy that I didn't recognize. I was like, who's this the other day? And then you and I both had the sensation, and we figured out it was her. And it was, boy, was she mad. Is she mad? And not only mad, but she's afraid. I think she realizes that it is not only her what she's done that is taken down. She feels threatened. Her existence as doing this kind of craft, hoodoo, is being threatened, and she knows it because she's, from what you're telling me, she's very psychic and she's very tapped in.
Yes.
So I'm sure her guides have told her this. Also, and I was laughing at this, and you and I had a chuckle about this. When it comes to voodoo, and I guess hoodoo too, because I found it, they like to call upon spirits to do their dirty work. Okay, they call in dark spirits to do their dirty work. So when I initially, a few days ago, when I found out she was doing hoodoo, there was this spirit that was dancing around. And I'm like, what is this? What is this thing? What is it? And, it's before I actually heard them say hoodoo. I'm like, what is this thing? And it was a spirit that she conjured to do her dirty work. And I think it's a spirit that she calls upon consistently. And they're telling me yes. So there's something that she calls upon consistently that always, that's like at her fingertips, that sort of assists her. Well, guess what? I took care of that spirit. That spirit was taken out of commission. And that's when she started to get really, really angry, because she probably didn't have access to that little spirit of hers. I don't know. I mean, again, this is not my area of expertise. Okay, I don't know much about hoodoo, but I've dealt with voodoo before. So it's a similar type of thing. And they, so we got everything going on in your case. So I don't know, Jennylyn.
I did not know that I'm living my life and I'm so hated. I can't tell you why. I can only tell you it's my light. So, Erik, I want to come back to you because that night you shocked me. Because while we were, going through this, I was a little bit uncomfortable apart from my pain, because I'm like, here's this guy, we just met him, and look what he is going through. He's probably thinking of a way to escape this phone call, right? And then out of the blues, I hear you, I see it, it's a gray. I was stunned when you said that. So my question to you is, you told me initially, because when we first started talking, it was about your book, and I was interested because of what I'm dealing with. And as a matter of fact, Mel and I were talking, and she said, I'm dealing with it in the spiritual realm, and you're dealing with it in the political realm. We're both kind of under the radar for different reasons. Well, the three of us, because Mel is part of whatever I'm a part of. So you mentioned to me in a conversation that Archangel Michael had given you a sword. Didn't you tell me this?
Yes. I have access to a very special sword.
Okay. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about that, but if you are and you're comfortable, do you want to share why and how that even came about?
So I kind of, Archangel Michael just kind of came to me one time, and it was during prayer, and he wanted to like really make his presence felt. And he came to me in all his glory, the most brightest, most beautiful entity you could ever see. And you just felt that warmth and that peace and everything that he was trying to show me, he got it across. And so ever since then, I've realized that I can call on Michael and he will come. And whatever I'm stuck on or anything like that, he's always come. And so when it came time where I had it was the question and answer time had expired. I think he was like, okay, I'm getting irritated by just answering all your questions. And so he came to me at another time and said, as I am the right hand of God, you are the right hand of me, if you accept. And so that was at that point where I had to really deep dig down and go, okay, this is bigger than just praying and asking questions. And so that's when I said, I do accept, because I feel it within me that there's a much higher power and there's a bigger purpose. It's the purpose. I feel like I'm I've always felt this way, that I'm just missing that spiritual purpose. And at that moment, Michael gave that. He showed me what I'm supposed to be doing. And ever since then, I've been at complete peace with what my goal and what my objectives are and what is required of me by God. So I'm supposed to work directly with Michael. And so that's when he presented me with the sword. And the sword is it was difficult at first because it doesn't work like a normal sword. You can't just pull it out and just start hacking on stuff. It doesn't work like that.
But how long ago was that, Erik?
When he gave me the sword, I would say that was about, I think it was 8 years ago, if I have my timeline right.
And since then, have you ever had to deal with anything remotely close to my situation?
No. I've never, like I said, I've never, revealed myself to people. And so any fights that I've had to do were within myself, and the things that I've had to, the darkness that's come to me that I've had to yield off. So, and I'm comfortable that Michael gives me all the tools that I need to protect myself. But with jumping into your situation and coming in kind of blind, I was like, man, what is going on here? What is this? How am I going to do anything? Like, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. You're in New York. And how am I going to help this woman from hundreds and hundreds of miles away? And so I didn't realize that do you guys call it remote? Like a remote kind of situation.
Yeah.
Right. I had no idea that I could see that far. And so that was a big eye opener for me, that maybe I haven't even begun to see. Right. I'm at the beginning too. So when you guys both have said this is just the beginning, I 100% agree with that, because I'm just now starting my journey, and this is the path that all three of us are on. That this is where we're supposed to be. So I fully am invested into that, and I have been told that I am right where I need to be.
Wow. So since he's given the sword to you, you've literally been sitting on it, because you haven't really had to take it. I'm sure you've had situations where you pull it out to protect yourself or those close to you, but this is the first time you're finding yourself on the battlefield, and you didn't even start with a parking lot brawl. You're like right in the middle of the blazing war. I'm so sorry. But guess what? You have Mel. And if you're in the same camp with Mel, I know that you have great things ahead of you in terms of helping God's captives. I feel it in my soul. And I believe you were led to me so I could bring you to Mel.
I think nothing is by coincidence.
Nope, nothing. So hope you don't lose friends now that they know that you are a little soldier that has a wand and some wings tucked away somewhere.
Yeah, they're gonna probably show up to my house with some meds. You need to take these. You're gonna be okay.
When I first started my show, when I was woken up and told you have to go share your story with the world, that was my big concern for a day or two. Actually, for 3 weeks, they kept saying, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I would always make an excuse. And I'll never forget the day when I actually started. I was sitting in the kitchen. I sit on the floor in the mornings to do my meditation. And while I was sitting there, I heard this voice say, you have to start the show today. And I go, no, my hair's a mess. And they go, put it up. I literally was told, put your hair up. And if you look at my first segment, I just kind of grabbed my hair, stuck it up, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go wing this. I don't know how you do it. And I swear I got on the camera and it's like someone guided everything that I shared. In fact, someone of my relatives said to me, "You articulate so well. Did you have notes?" Or I said, "Nope, I had nothing. I just sat there and spirit guided me." And the rest is history. This must have been how many months? Maybe 5, 6 months ago, because Mel and I have done 11 segments already.
Right.
11 or 12. And now you've come on board, and we don't know how long this is going to go, because I told everyone Mel and I would do a couple segments because I thought within a couple segments we'd be done. And look, we're still going and we still don't know. We've taken down so many big bad wolves and we don't know how many more are waiting in the wing. But we've been doing this 1 hour. And so I'll let Mel wrap and then I'll let you leave a closing message, Erik. And Erik, I hope I can promise you back. Like you come back with us again.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely come back.
Okay, great. So Mel, why don't we let you leave your what you want to leave with them this week before we wrap?
Sure. Well, I'll leave today with confirming with Erik or, agreeing with Erik that everything is for reason and nothing is by coincidence. Oh. What's going on?
I saw little white lights just blinking right here in the
Okay,
corner of the
white
room.
lights, angelic.
It's good.
Okay,
Yep.
which is actually what I want to talk about here, because that is why. As Erik says that he has the sort of Michael, I have it too, but in a different way. So you see, we are connected through Michael. I do believe that he sort of acted that way. And I'm hearing you bet I did. Okay, so here's this, and I sort of knew this right from the beginning. This is why he sat on your shoulder. So I just want to wherever this takes us, right? I'm open to take it wherever it needs to go. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how your situation is going to resolve. What part Erik is going to play, what part, all these things. I don't know anything, but that's the one thing that I always have learned now to do is to just let go and just go with the flow and just allow for the universe and my guides to just take us, right? Lead us, like guide us what needs to happen. And that's what's happening right now. So I'm glad that Erik is part of this. I am glad, and hopefully we can do what it is that we need to do together for you, and then you stepping into your individual power as well, which you already have, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Erik, I want you to just leave whatever closing message you want for anybody watching us.
So I'm excited for the journey, and unfortunately it's at your misery, but I feel I just have this overwhelming feeling of excitement that this is going to get concluded, and that the pieces are there to get it concluded, and it's just a matter of getting it done. So I really enjoy it because I know Mel has a lot of knowledge to share. So I have a lot to learn. And as I try to continue to develop the things that I feel like I'm capable of doing, just like what Mel said, there's not just one sword, there's many. And just like how I said, the sword's not used like what you would typically think it is. It can be used in different ways. And I think Mel has her way that Michael has given her to use the sword, and I have my way. I know what mine does. I played with it a few times, but my big thing is I feel like and this is kind of me, nerding out a little bit, but I feel like we are like the Lord of the Rings, and we're like the Fellowship of the Rings. And that's kind of what I get out of it. I feel like we should all get pins and rid the world of evil.
That's exactly what I thought of today. That is so weird that you're saying that. I'm like, oh my God, Listen, I wish we had more time. I try not to make these segments too long, but I have to say this. If you're watching this segment, and I know it's difficult to understand what we are sharing and really relating to it in terms of what you were taught when you were being raised and your own personal life. But we are living in a world that is so massive, even though it's small. And there is so much going on in different parts of the world. And in today's world, because of the World Wide Web, we have such access to information. Although those who run the world and those who are participating in nefarious activities and things that are not doing things that are not in our best interest, try as hard as they can to keep us in the fishbowl of the ignorance that we have been raised in throughout our lives, because this allows them to control us. This matrix is falling apart. And if you are not aware of what is happening, you don't want to be. You are comfortable in status quo, you're comfortable in ignorance, and you're probably still watching mainstream media. And I'm not here to judge you for doing that. I was told by Jesus that not everybody will wake up, and it's not my job to wake people up. But I have
Yep.
other things to do with my night, as do Erik and Mel. And so if we are sitting here every week bearing our souls, sharing with you what we've been experiencing, what we have been led to do by the divine, and you still doubt what I'm saying, that's okay. I'm not here to convince you either way. But I will continue to share what is happening, and I urge you to open your eyes and go and do your own research, because status quo has not served most of us. And if you wake up, you may discover that you can experience a much better life if you are aware of the truth. Or that some things you may be experiencing in your life may be because you may have some of what's happening to me, happening to you, although I'm not trying to scare anyone. Just try to keep an open mind, because we've really been lied to as humans. And I'm excited to bring back Erik and Mel next week. And this morning, Mel gave me some amazing news about what she was led to do for me. And we did not have enough time to talk about it today, but I will turn this over to her before we go to tell us if it's something she can share next week. We'll share this good news with you. Mel?
I think we can talk about it next week. Yes.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
So we'll start off next week's segment with what Mel was led to do this morning and what was the last word that she saw after she did what she did. And I love you guys. Thank you, those of you who are still hanging in and following us. Thank you. Your support means the world to us. And hopefully you're learning from it. Bye.